Hi, good afternoon. We're here with Alan Cowley from, you introduce your business?
The business is Engagement in Education Limited.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alan. And if you'd just like to tell us a little bit about, who you are, how you got started and for how long you've been doing it for, please.
Certainly. Well, I was a teacher and school leader for 34 years.
Wow.
It's an interesting story, but I won't go into it now. Thoroughly enjoyed it, saw it as the best job in the world, loved every minute of it, really, really did. But then in the early noughties, I got very interested in the potential of parental engagement. Parental engagement, we talk about very readily in schools, and by and large, we use it to mean all the stuff we do with parents. But when you look at the research on it, it isn't that at all. It's very specific, and actually the benefits when you get it right are massive. So it can actually improve each pupil's performance by 25% year on year. So it's like adding another, I saw the eyebrows go up. It's like adding another 2 or 3 years to a child's education if you get it right. So I started looking at why we weren't getting it right, because quite obviously, you have to think of the leveling up agenda, things like that, we're not getting it right. And I found the answer. I was seconded to work for the government in one of their initiatives, advising on parental engagement. I have to say that it was a total waste of time. People had made up their minds what it was they were going to do. And it was called online reporting to parents. And it was a turn off for parents, for many, many parents. So my wife and I decided I would give up my job and dedicate the time to finding a solution, if there was one. And that's what we did. It took us 4 years, and we found a solution. Great and the Good of Education sat on our advisory board to test it out in a proof of concept research. And in 2016, after further going back to the drawing board to improve things, because it certainly works, we launched into schools 2016. And it's been brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So what we now have is an app called Free Flow Info, all one word. And thanks to a government initiative, in 2019, we were awarded the Edtech Innovation Initiative for effective parental engagement. I mean, wow. Who would have ever, if my former colleagues, I'll tell you now, my former colleagues would never have associated my name with the words Edtech Innovator. But that's what I am. And it's working brilliantly. So that's what we're doing. We're improving the lives of children, parents, and teachers through Free Flow Info.
So during that journey, when 2020 March time and the pandemic hit, obviously it's a sector that was affected hugely by lockdowns and the education system effectively being taken into home for a number of weeks, months. How did that affect yourselves? Was it kind of you could assist in that way? What was the biggest impact for you?
There were multiple impacts. First of all, we were just getting going quite nicely, but it shut down the opportunity to really make contact with new client schools because they had enough on their plate. From our point of view, and again, I think I'd learned a lot about trusting your clients more. And so we were contacted by schools, and Free Flow Info is a totally new concept on reporting to parents effectively. It enables parents to do what parents do best, which is praise their children in a meaningful way. And that generates the the need that children have for parental approval. And so the praise that you give for doing something well children respond by working even harder in the classroom. That's what it's all about, and it works. But what we found was that schools contacted us and said they'd told the parents that they were going to buy a learning platform so that they could enable the home learning to take place, all within a very short space of time. Schools had about a week to prepare for this, by the way, before the first lockdown. And parents got back to them and said, no, we don't want anything else. We want to use free flow info for this.
Yeah.
Now, we'd never designed it for that reason. We had to make some changes to it to enable that, but that's what we did. So we enabled it so that it could be used to help home learning. And again, you're helping your schools with that. The downside was that it placed parents in the role of teacher. And parents are not teachers. And I do think that the experience that we've had as a nation, actually across many, many nations, has shown that we could have done the homeschooling better if we'd have known about it in advance. Parents are not equipped to teach from scratch, and many of them were being asked to do that, and it turned many of them off. So the consequences of that we're just seeing now. So one of the things we've had to do subsequently is to remind schools that this is not a home learning kit, really. You know, we enable video learning and all sorts of things by increasing the amount of memory that schools had access to for videos and things like that, for example. But we've had to remind them that that's not what this is all about. And the evidence is very clear that parents teaching their children, schooling their children, is not effective.
Yeah.
When they're not equipped to do it. But parents talking to their children and praising their children for what they're doing in school is effective. So it's going back to that and enabling one thing, but not the other.
It's a combination of things.
No, it's very specific in actual fact.
Okay.
But what's lockdown produced was a combination of different approaches. So one, we sucked it in and allowed it during lockdown, but we really have to sort of remind schools that's not going to work. You think it is because you've been doing it since the year dot, but it doesn't work. This works. And the evidence that has come from that DFE Edtech Innovation Award, independent research shows that we're absolutely right. And it does work, and it works very quickly as well.
Fantastic. So in terms of those adaptations for the pandemic, have you stuck with some of those then?
Yes, we have. I mean, one of the things that we had to do, all our training used to be face-to-face. And I mean, you know, it wasn't a totally barren time for us as far as recruitment was concerned, because schools were word of mouth were using us. And recommending us. And so we took some schools, new schools, on during that time. And we provided a course that is now all online. So we've changed the way we operate so that we can provide courses around the world that are online courses. So I don't have to get on an airplane.
Benefits of technology.
It is. The other thing that we found, and again, it was a benefit of, luckily, the EdTech Innovation Award, we received it in October 19. So even though COVID was raising its head and gaining momentum in the early months of 2020, it gave us some time. And the research started, done by a professor from Swansea University now, Professor Janet Goodall, who is really one of the world's leading experts on parental engagement. So she was able to start her research And that allowed us throughout the whole process, I mean, 18 months of research went into this, that allowed us for the first time to get some really interesting data and views back from teachers, school leaders, and parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've looked at that and thought, okay, yeah, we need to act on that. And we've made the twinges. So it has been a good time to get some quality information back to make some changes to our approach. Simple as that, really.
Good stuff. Thank you. Sounds sounds amazing what you can do, and I can see the passion in coming across in what you've developed. So well done, brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
So from where you are now, what does the future look like, and what do you see the main challenges are going forward that are predictable?
Yeah. Well, actually, you see, it's an interesting thing what you just said about the passion,
mm-hmm.
because I still have that passion. It's the passion I've always had for everything I've done. So I've been very, very fortunate to have parents who, say go for it, sort of thing,
Yeah.
But I have to realize, as the CEO of a company with shareholders, that it's a hard thing to say this, but it could be that you reach a stage in the development of the company when there are better options for running that company.
Mm-hmm.
So for developing my passion, as you picked up, is to make effective parental engagement work in every single school in this country. I was asked to write a paper for the House of Commons Education Select Committee on how effective parental engagement can raise pupil achievement and close the attainment gap, which
mm-hmm.
it can. And I wrote that paper just before people started talking about leveling up. Now, there is no easier way, because this isn't extra work for teachers. It actually saves teachers 38 hours a year, according to the DFE. That's a working week. It's brilliant. It really does save workload, but it improves pupil attainment, their interest, their aspirations, so many different aspects of pupil life. Things that cause problems in classrooms day in, day out are virtually eradicated through free flow info. So the leveling up agenda what a great starting place it would be for that. So I have to accept that that's the important thing,
mm-hmm.
not me playing with my passion.
Yeah, the bigger goal for the business.
There's a bigger goal in this. And so, we are currently talking to other companies about taking free flow info from us
mm-hmm.
and delivering it. I mean, I either have to, go to my shareholders again and other new shareholders perhaps, to increase my work resource,
mm-hmm.
or, and it makes better sense, to allow someone who's already got that resource and the contacts to run with themselves. And that's my preferred option, because it'll be the fastest option.
Sure.
And every day that we're not doing this in schools, pupils are suffering.
Yeah.
They're not achieving their potential. And that's what it's about.
Good stuff. An important aspect of the education system that you've got there and tapped into, and that it needs to happen as soon as it can in the best way that it can.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there are pupils who go through schools for wasting their time.
Yeah.
We can't have it.
Yeah. Very, very important. Good stuff. Thank you for that. So since you've become a business owner, what would you say your biggest learning is through this journey, if you can pick out one? I see the sigh there.
Well, it is interesting, because I was attracted to it because as a teacher and school leader, I was known nationally for my business links
mm-hmm.
and interacting with businesses. But I've got to be honest and say, you can never truly understand what it's like to be in business until you run one yourself.
Yeah.
And so that transition from being teacher, school leader to business owner took a while. I'm talking, years. And then becoming business owner with other people working for you, even more complex, even more demanding. I think that was the biggest shock that I had. How little time. I mean, as a teacher, you work the hours God sends, you really do. But my goodness me, I've even found extra hours since I've had my own business, because you go months without a holiday. You go weeks without a weekend, because it has to be done, and someone's got to do it, and you're there, get it done. So yeah, that was a really
big learning curves.
Yeah, it is. And there's only one way to get it, when you're faced with doing it. Simple as that, really.
Thank you for sharing that. It was a good share. So if we went back in time and met you at 18, an 18-year-old Alan, what would you say is the best piece of advice you could give him?
Well, yeah. Go with your gut, I think, and have the guts to go. And I think that's something that my parents would have drummed into me. I had very can-do parents, and it could be argued that I took an easy option with teaching, because I do think sometimes people fall into teaching rather than choose teaching as a profession. But I don't think I'd have done it very much differently, to be quite frank. I'm a natural communicator. Throughout my teaching career and my career in schools, I was known for doing entrepreneurial things and national programs that were different. So we organized the Race Against Time for Bob Geldof, for example, for this part of England. A school, amazing. One of our girls who helped organize that was taken by Geldof to Ethiopia to see what's going, with Blue Peace. It was amazing. Things like that. We've always been out there doing different things because children were benefiting from being involved and being inspired by being involved in things that weren't just school. So I've no regrets before I become Sinatra.
I can kind of one of the next question about inspiration and what inspires you. I can kind of hazard a guess from what you've been up to for the last few years. But is there anything, maybe friends, family, alongside what you're doing, work, or it could be the work that you do, is the inspiration in terms of changing children's and teachers' lives to make it better for them? But if there's any inspiration that you use that you'd like to share.
Again, I come back to parents, and my mum especially, as somebody who was inspiring in the way she handled people. I quite often find myself thinking, what would mum have done in these situations? And it usually provides me with the right answer. But it's a difficult thing to say from the point of view of someone who is fairly comfortable in my life. Is very difficult to judge. I mean, I was born in Moss Side, Manchester, which is not the leafiest of suburbs. But even so, even from that environment for the first 5-6 years of my life, embrace what you have is the thing, and use that. So I come back to the go for it line, basically. I've done some amazing things in my life. I've been involved in many projects, which if some people have just done one of them, they'd have been pleased. I've been blessed with being able to do many things. And it is make the mark with your life. Make a positive mark with your life. Because it can be done, and you can do it. Just have the energy to do it, get up and do it, and make it work. It does work. You see all these wonderful people on breakfast TV who have got different projects going on. You know, that's what life's, you know, make a difference, a positive difference. Be nice to people. That's it.
Nice.
Just simple recipe.
Excellent. And lastly, is there any sort of latest news around your business that you'd like to share? If there's anything worthy of note, or even if it's just directing people to have a look at things. I
mean, when we got the DFE Edtech Innovation Award for effective parental engagement, there were other sectors, other areas within education that were awarded as well. We were told we had to do our own research. I said no, because I'd already done my own research and it was outstanding. And people said, yeah, well, it would be, wouldn't it? You've done it. So I said, no, I'm going to have this done independently. So that is when DFE managed to get us Professor Goodall to do the research. Wonderful. It reads better than I could have written it myself. It is absolutely amazing with the outcomes we're having. Staggering. Over 90% of acceptance by parents who want it. You know, it's just absolutely incredible. She recently submitted the paper to be part of a conference in Wales. In order for it to go into that conference, it had to be peer reviewed, which is the highest accolade academics can place on your research, because they have to agree with the ideas you have underpinning it, the methodologies you used, the data you used, how you interpreted the data, and the conclusions you drew. It's all anonymous, and they did. So we've now become, if you know of another one, anyone out there, let me know. But we are, as far as I'm aware, the only educational product that has got such high academic backing for what we're doing and how it works. That's quite nice. To celebrate that, our agreement with the DFE was that we would keep free flow info cost price from 2019 up until the end of last week. We are now, for you, holding this open, cost price, until the end of this academic year. If they're going to come to us through mentioning your name.
Fantastic. Great. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and as I say, seeing that passion come through, and it's wonderful stuff what you've obviously been doing and creating, and I hope it goes from strength to strength. Whatever the future holds in terms of the business, and possibly passing the mantle on in the near future. Thanks, Alan. Take care.
Nice talking to you. Bye now.
Cheers.